A sound effect is a noise that is added in post-production. It could be due to the original sound being poor or just to make the clip sound better. Sound effects are a necessity in films in this day and age. They emphasise visual effects, add emotion, and most of all, they break the silence that would otherwise be there. Although a lot of sound effects aren't realistic, as we only hear a lot of the noises in films, it is what we know as the norm. Good examples of this is gunshots and explosions. Foley is a very common way of recreating sounds in the most realistic way possible. It uses physical items to create the sound. Before sound effects arose, there were silent films. All aspects of the films were portrayed visually, however, there was a vital aspect missing in the form of sound. Without sound, you lose the sense of atmosphere and realism. Our first interviewee is an avid film watcher who writes his own blog reviewing films. So, Liam, why do you think sound effects are important in film?
Well, Sam, that's a great question. You see, most films, as well as having fantastic soundtracks which help to emphasize the dramatic parts of it, or the moments where it kind of dips and fades, they really add a certain atmosphere to the scene. And just as how it's true for the scores to films, so the sound effects, you need something to keep you in the moment and things like that. So if it doesn't have that kind of strong audio impact that you give visual scenes in a film, you would always look for striking cinematography. So I don't see why you wouldn't pick appropriately good sounding sound effects.
That is very true, Liam. How realistic do you think sound effects are?
Oh, it's tough to say because, the most realistic of sound effects I wouldn't even notice if it happened because I would think they are natural. So, yeah, I assume the majority of stuff is done in post-production, so I would say that people are doing a very good job of keeping those sound effects as authentic as possible, or maybe I just think they are because I've got used to hearing them in films and things like that. So I'd say, yeah, they're plenty realistic.
Do you think films would sound better or worse with realistic sounds? So let's say if they only use the organic, natural sounds and not any post-production.
It would probably sound a lot worse, I would imagine. You probably got used to listening to a certain level of clarity in your recordings that are probably helped by post-production scenes, and that's really where you can kind of fine-tune the sound that you're going for in the shot. If it's just organic sounds, it can be difficult to kind of recreate exactly the atmosphere you want. Similar to how you might use CGI for visual shots to improve them. If you could only work within that frame, then you're limiting yourself by not doing it, and it's true for sound effects as well.
Thank you very much, Liam.
That's quite alright, Sam.
Next, we spoke to a casual film watcher and asked the same questions. It was interesting to see the difference in answers. Chris, why do you think sound effects are important in film?
I feel that they sort of add more depth to a film and sort of make it more, realistic and make you feel like you're part of it, if you like. You can actually understand it more.
When you talk about the realistic aspects, how realistic do you think sound effects are themselves? Do you think they are true to real life, or do you reckon they could be a bit more?
I guess it depends on the budget of films and stuff, and how well done they are. Certain films, they can be very realistic, sometimes perhaps over the top.
Do you think films would sound better or worse with realistic sound?
I think it helps. Of course, it's cheaper to do and stuff, so it's clearly why they do it. But maybe if they were real, it would feel even more realistic and you'd feel more captivated with it.
Thank you very much. This has been Sam Spencer reporting for Brayford Radio.